Good evening. We'll be getting started in a moment. Good evening, everybody. Looks like we're waiting for a couple more people. I'm not really sure what the delay is. I promoted all the commissioners that were in the list. I promoted Commissioner Cohen, but don't see him on screen. So I'm not sure. Okay,
Here I am.
there you go. So it looks like we're waiting for two more people. I'll give them a second, and if they're not here, then we'll just get started. Okay, so let's see. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, I think I see. I've promoted everyone to panelists. I don't see Commissioner Smith, but I thought okay, thank you. And then lastly, I don't see Commissioner Johnson yet, but we'll go ahead and get started and call the meeting to order. And when she joins, I'll promote her. Commissioner Gilligan, can you take the attendance, please? And she just joined, so we'll have everyone.
Awesome. Okay. Yeah, I'll do roll call starting. We'll just go numerically. 4B01,
Present.
4B02,
Present.
4B03,
Present.
4B04,
Present.
4B05 is present, 4B06,
Present.
4B07,
Present.
4B08,
Present?
4B09,
Present.
and 4B10.
4B10 is vacant.
All right, that's 9. That's a quorum.
All right, wonderful. Okay, with that, we can move on to the agenda items. Just some administrative items. I'm sure by now everyone knows how to use Zoom and is not new to it. Please remember to use the raise your hand function if you have a question. And if you are on phone, please dial *6, to unmute yourself. Before we move to the consideration of the agenda, there are two small agenda items that I need to update. Under the approval of community grants, we have two resolutions that we are removing this month. We'll revisit them when their applications are ready. And that would be Resolution 4B 231003 and Resolution 4B 231004, grant awards for Calvin Coolidge Alumni Association and for Sella Public Charter School Parent Teacher Organization. So we are striking those from the agenda, and I will make a motion to move the agenda as presented, or as amended, excuse me.
A second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye. I think that's everyone. All right. So we can move next into the approval of the September 2023 regular public meeting minutes. Everyone received a copy of those minutes. I hope you've had the opportunity to review them. And let me know, please, if you have any questions or concerns with regard to the minutes as presented.
There was one edit received from Commissioner Palmer to just reflect the roll call differently. It was my first time logging a roll call, and I do intend to, instead of by SMD, it'll be by commissioner name. So
Mhm.
that's the one change I'm going to make on the minutes.
We
Okay.
actually recirculated a revised draft by email.
So everyone got that change?
Oh,
Is that
did you?
what you're saying?
Okay, great.
Yes.
Okay. Wonderful. So with that, is there a motion to accept the minutes as presented? Okay,
I'll move.
Thank you. Go ahead, Commissioner Palmer.
I'll move to accept the minutes.
I'll
as
second.
stipulated.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, that looks like everybody. Thank you. Okay, so we can move on to the treasurer's report and approval of the quarterly financial report for the fourth quarter, which I believe everyone received a copy of. I believe I sent that to everyone.
Okay.
Okay, so Commissioner Smith,
Should I share the screen?
you can, but since everyone has
Okay.
received it, I don't think that you have to. It is
Okay.
posted on the website and every commissioner received a copy.
Okay.
Okay. So let me actually open my document and then I'll be ready to go. Did anyone have any questions with regard to the treasurer's report as presented? Then in that case, Commissioner Smith, I think you just can provide the balance for the community and then we can vote on the presentation. I mean, vote on the QFR, excuse me.
Okay. So the balance as of today is $59,084.96. And that is for the quarterly financial report, fiscal year 23, quarter 4.
Okay. With that, is there a motion to accept the quarterly report as presented? Commissioner Smith?
By motion.
All right, is there a second? I'll second. And just for the record, these quarterly reports were created and reviewed in conjunction with Dawn Dickerson in the office of the ANC. All right. With that is, oh, I was the second. So all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Commissioner Gilligan, you're writing, so I didn't hear you. Did you raise your hand?
Aye, thanks.
Thank you. That's everyone. All right, we can move into the approval of the community grants. We've received grant applications from each of the organizations listed, and also these have been vetted by the Office of the OANC as stipulated by the Office of the ANC. So Commissioner Palmer, do you mind talking to the Tacoma Elementary School PTO grant and just perhaps tell us how it's going to be used? If you could take Tacoma and Ida B. Wells, I'll discuss Sulla and South Manor. Is that okay?
Yes, that's
Okay.
fine. Let me just pull these up real quick to make sure I'm speaking accurately.
I don't think you have to go into a lot of detail. The resolution that everyone receives addresses it. I just didn't have it open to tell them what the event was.
Yes, that's great. Okay, so the resolution 4B 231001, which is a grant award for Tacoma Elementary's parent-teacher organization, is funding for 2 school festivals that are community facing in the fall and the spring. The fall festival is an event that has been funded via a grant in the past, which community members have attended that event. It's lovely, and is one of the, I guess, pre-approved types of grant awards are community facing events. So that's that one. Resolution 4B 231002 is the grant award for Ida B. Wells Middle School's parent-teacher organization. And this is an application for supplies and services that are part of the school's school-wide enrichment model. So that's a program whereby all students in the school participate in designing a final project that's something along the lines of community service, wellness, or social justice. And those final projects are outward facing and serve the community. So it serves the benefit of both public purpose and benefiting the commission area.
Okay, thank you. As I mentioned, we're going to table Calvin Coolidge and Sella Public Charter School until next month. And then lastly, South Manor Neighborhood Association has asked for a grant to create a website where one does not exist currently, obviously to be used by the community. And that's where we are. So we have these 3 grants. We'll vote one at a time. We'll make a motion. How about we move them all at one time and vote on each one separately? Is that reasonable? So that we don't have to go back and forth. Okay, so is there a motion to, or I'll make the motion to accept the grant applications for the following: Tacoma Elementary School Parent Teacher Organization, Ida B. Wells Parent Teacher Organization, and South Manor Neighborhood Association. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. All in favor? For,
Aye.
I'm sorry, wait. Well, all in favor, I guess I said I was going to do them one at a time. I'm off to a bad start today. So all in favor of awarding Tacoma Elementary School Parent Teacher Organization? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, that's everyone. All in favor of awarding Ida B. Wells Parent Teacher Organization? Aye.
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 That's everyone. All in favor of awarding South Manor Neighborhood Association?
Aye.
Okay,
Aye.
and I'm abstaining from that organization because that's in my S&D. So that's everyone.
I think I saw Michelle abstain as well. Is that right?
You abstained from South Manor? Or from all of them?
No, I abstained from South Manor.
Okay,
South Manor, excuse me.
okay. All right. That's all of them. We can move on to commissioner updates and we can just go in numerical order. 4B01.
We are working on a cleanup, not next month, because next month is November. So the 1st of December, we're still in the planning stage. So if anyone is on the call who is in 4B01 and would like their neighborhood or specifically their street to be included, please send me an email so that we can determine how far our perimeter will stretch.
Wonderful. 4B02.
Yes, thank you, Chair Brooks. We had a great Halloween themed cleanup last Saturday as part of Commissioner Yates and my adopt-a-block for Cedar Street. And I will have my monthly community cleanup by the Safeway at Van Buren and Piney Branch on Saturday, November 4th at 10 a.m. Those cleanups are every month, the first Saturday of the month at 10. A great opportunity to engage with Safeway if you have needs related to the store. And my monthly office hours and neighborhood walk will be November 16th, starting at 6 p.m. from my house. And those walks, we've been taking a themed approach every month. And this month, we're going to focus on looking at issues in alleys across the single member district. Thank you.
Okay. 4B03.
Thank you. I just wanted to give an update. On October 14th, I did have the privilege to attend a ceremony given by Calvin Coolidge. They did celebrate the renaming of his track and field to coaches Adrian Dixon and Samuel Taylor. We did the ribbon cutting, so it was an honor to be there and represent the 4B community and the commission. So hats off to Coolidge.
Wonderful. 4B04. 5. No, 4.
No update at this time, Chair.
Thank you. 4B05.
Just that after 2-month hiatus in November, restarting the 4B05 cleanup. That's the third Saturday, November 18th. We'll meet at 8th and Peabody at 9 a.m.
Wonderful. 4B06.
Just a couple of updates. I will have my final in the series of community cleanups this Saturday, weather permitting. At 9 a.m. we'll meet at Fort Slocum Park, 5800 Kansas Avenue Northwest. And also there is a hearing coming up on the Access to Home Amendment Act of 2023. The hearing is scheduled for this Thursday at 9:30 a.m. I will put the information about that in the chat box. If you recall from last month's meeting, the ANC passed a resolution in support of this legislation, and so I will be testifying in support of our resolution and the bill.
Wonderful. 4B07.
Thanks. Just a couple quick updates. I will continue to have office hours every Wednesday at the Lamont Rec Center from 12 to 1, and then virtual office hours from 1 until 2. I will be out of town November 1st to 6th, so I will not be having office hours those days. So feel free to reach out and email me if you need anything. Thanks.
Perfect. So 4B08, I have been double dipping, I guess you could say, and representing 4B10 and 4B08 to the best of my ability. 4B08, we are in the midst of planning a cleanup, and I'm looking for volunteers really to spearhead the cleanup, as I'm not able to do it this month. But we do want to get out along Riggs Road, along the National Park Service area, and have a group of people go out and clean that up. So if you're interested in doing that, please let me know. Also in 4B10, there's been concern about a vacant and open building along Sligo Mill Road, and that building has been boarded up, or the process to board up the building began today, and it should be completed in the coming days. So that concludes my update. 4B09.
4B09, no updates for today.
All right, thank you. So with that, we can move on to community concerns. If you have a question and need to be acknowledged, please use the raise your hand function or dial *6. Go ahead, Commissioner Johnson.
Is that I think my computer's working. Yay. Can you all hear me?
Yes, we can.
Cool. Good afternoon, everybody. Thanks for allowing me to be on, having me on. I really don't have anything. I don't have any concern. I do have an invitation for each of you all.
Okay.
I am I think I said last time, I'm the newly elected chair of the Ward 4 Mini Commission on Aging group. It meets on the second Thursday of every month. And I would like to invite you all, anyone who wants to pretend to be a senior, we won't tell, on our next meeting, which is November the 9th. It's at the precinct. It is at 10 o'clock in the morning. This one is a very special meeting. It's going to be from 10 a.m. to 2. And at 10 a.m., we're going to have Christina Henderson. She's going to be the special speaker. And then at 1 o'clock, the mayor, Ms. Bowser, is going to be there from 1 until, I guess, 2 or so. So please come if you have any issues or want to just come on by. I think we're going to have some free food, all that other good stuff. So I invite you to come.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you, guys.
I wasn't here last month when you made your announcement. So on behalf of ANC 4B, congratulations on your new post. And we look forward to working with you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Cool beans. Okay.
All righty.
Thanks.
Have a good evening.
Okay.
I'm going to go to Julie Lawson next. Hi, Julie. How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm wonderful.
I just wanted to briefly report, this hat is my role on the advisory committee for student assignment and boundaries for our public schools. That tomorrow night is another meeting of our advisory committee. These meetings are open to the public to attend virtually. I'm happy to put the link to that in the chat so that folks can attend. I just wanted to flag as one of the Ward 4 representatives that the capacity levels at Ida B. Wells and Coolidge have been a major discussion point in this process. And so we will be looking at some November town halls and whatever recommendations the committee comes up with. The deputy mayor for education will be doing community meetings with the schools that are potentially impacted. Tomorrow night, we're going to see some initial data around some modeling for some proposed changes. So I just wanted to let our 4B neighbors know, and please participate. I will also send a survey link to submit any feedback that anyone has, and you can submit that feedback at any time, multiple times throughout the process. We look forward to being done around February with these recommendations to the mayor, and then they will be grandfathered. Whatever she selects will be grandfathered in over future years. But wanted to make sure that our 4B neighbors knew that Wells and Coolidge are high on the discussion list.
Wonderful, thank you. Would you mind emailing me a blurb that I can email out
Yes.
with the link? Okay.
Yep, absolutely.
Thank you. All right, with that, we will go to Casey Dyson from Food and Friends. Hi, Casey.
Hi, I just wanted to thank Commissioner Brooks, Commissioner Palmer publicly, anybody else who might be on the call who joined us last week for a volunteer shift at Food and Friends. It was wonderful you guys were able to come out and help prepare about 5,000 meals on the day you were there. So thanks again.
You're very welcome. We had a great time, actually.
Good.
So thank you very much. And I'm looking forward to coming back again. I don't know if Aaron's going to come with us that time, but we're going to pull some more family members in and come back.
Sounds wonderful. We'll see you then.
All right. Thank you. All right. Ann Walters, you're next. I don't know what's going on with my computer today. I promoted her, but I don't see you. Ann, are you there?
Yes, I am. Can you hear me?
Is your camera off?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Yeah, good evening, everyone. Just would like to give some updates on the DC plug. For there will be restoration on the bus pad at Van Buren and Underwood, and that is slated to take place on November 10th through the 12th. And you may ask why the 12th? You need a few days for the bus pad to the concrete to set. So 12th is a Sunday. So by Monday morning, that bus pad will be open. And on this November 6th through the 13th, there will be final restoration at 6200 block of 8th Street and also Rittenhouse, 800 block of Rittenhouse between 8th and 9th Street. There will be final restoration of the streets, and they're continuing to install manholes. I think one will be installed Wednesday by 7th and the Dahlia Street Northwest. So those are some of the major constructions that's taking place right now on the DC plug. So there may be some street closures for some of these projects. And what I'll do, I'll post the 3-week look ahead and my information in the chat. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay. I don't see any other hands raised, so we're going to move on to our monthly reports. We're going to start with Sophia Tacola from the Mayor's Office of Community Relations and Services. Sophia, are you there? Sophia?
Hey, sorry, it was taking a while to connect. Can you
All right.
guys hear me?
We can hear you, yes, not see you.
Perfect.
All right, there you go.
Go. Hello. Thank you for that. Hello, everybody. It's nice to see all of you guys. And then for some of the commissioners who were able to make it out this morning, it was great to see you and thank you for coming out. A few things to start off with is getting back to you on some of the questions you asked last time. So starting with Commissioner Yeats, you had talked about the DC school boundaries and how they were changing, specifically noting that they had changed for Shepherd Park Elementary recently, but no other schools. And so recently re-upped that email about boundaries and waiting to get a response back, as well as a boundary study to become underway of what that's going to look like and who's going to be impacted, who's not going to be impacted, and all that it encompasses in that study. So waiting for a response for that right now. And then Julie Lawson had mentioned it a little briefly, so thank you for that, Julie, but with Commissioner Palmer specifically about Whittier Elementary wanting to make sure that all of our teachers and staff, when the school goes to an alternative site, making sure that they are taken to the site as well. And so that is a conversation that we've made sure that all the proper people know this, as well as voiced and advocated for ANC 4B and the 4B greater community of Whittier Elementary and all that that encompasses. And so I've reached out to our DCPS leaders as well as the school board and let the mayor know as well. And then adding to that, the reason a lot of people came out today is Mayor Bowser's new legislation. And so this legislation is specifically talking about addressing crime trends. The catchphrase is act now. The big reason it's act now is so often we talk about, okay, let's get this legislation rolling, let's have everybody vote, but it's something where, as we all know, crime has gone up and we need people to act right now. We can't keep waiting around like this. This is an urgent matter and getting all votes for this. And specifically in this legislation, some of the things we are looking at is limiting loitering by reinstating the ability of the MPD chief to declare drug-free zones for 120 hours to prohibit people from congregating in public spaces for the purchase, sale, or use of illegal drugs. One of the areas that we might see that in is recently, Commissioner Brooks and I were walking in her SMD over in Kennedy Street, and we know there's certain areas that people congregate. And she's laughing because that walk was definitely an experience.
It was. Yes, it was.
But something like that would specifically bring to light that people are loitering, and that adds to some of the violence that we're seeing in that specific area. And so it's focusing on areas like that, specifically on, say, Kennedy Street, as well as other areas across all 8 wards that impact that and have that drug-free zone. In addition to that, there will be a new penalty for organized retail theft, including establishing a new crime for directing organized retail theft. And so what that looks like, I'm sure some of you have seen the video of over at the wharf where they had a bunch of people. It was a planned attack, go in, take everything, hold people up at gunpoint and different things like that. Or you look at the CVS store and these are plans. It's not just suddenly like, wait, I really want that purse. And so specifically targeting and going for people, targeting stores and people and organizing that. And then the final thing that we talked about is reinstating the law that makes it unlawful to wear a mask. And no, this is not just a mask for medical purposes, specifically a ski mask in July. And so that's going to look like, first, the request of taking it off, as well as specifically looking at, is this mask because the person's walking around and they are sick, or is this mask specifically using to intimidate people? If so, that will be a crime in the District of Columbia if these measures pass. In addition to that, we have also adding new is our leaf collection program. And so this leaf collection will begin October 30th and will continue all the way through January 20th. And so wanting to remember everybody that your district's food waste drop-off locations will be highlighted for also leaf drop-off areas. And then in addition to that, DPW will be assessing the city every 2 weeks to update the leaf collection schedule, as well as a tracker will be updated every Friday with more precise information of when people will be coming to your neighborhood specifically to pick up all the leaves. And then also DPW requested us to remind everybody when we're helping to reduce food waste, please use our drop-off sites specifically for compost and different things like that to make sure that we're keeping rats out of our communities. And then starting on Friday, October 27th at 414 Farragut Street Northeast, the district snow team will host a training exercise to ensure that everyone's prepared for our snow and ice operations. And so something to keep in the back of your mind for this Friday, October 20th at 414 Farragut Street Northeast. And so especially for commissioners, for block captains, for anybody in the community who's like, hey, I want to make sure that I know what to do when snow's coming around and when ice is coming around, that is a wonderful opportunity to come by. And then also coming up, we have on October 25th at North Michigan Park Rec Center, DPW is hosting a community job fair. And so once again, as I've said this a gazillion times, but DC is open and DC is hiring. And so wanting to make sure that we are getting more people in the doors, and DPW is a very proud second chance employer. So no one's going to be discriminated against for coming to this job fair and wanting to get a job. In addition to that, Mayor Bowser is launching HBCU's public service program to create a career pipeline to DC government. And so this is going to look as announcing district government's hiring process and what that looks like with DC's innovation team, specifically wanting to bring in more HBCU students and partnering along with the DC government. In addition to that, we have our Office of Gun Violence Prevention. We have so many acronyms. So if you ever hear the OGVP, that's going to stand for your Office of Gun Violence Prevention, as well as BBDC stands for our building blocks DC. And those are the communities we want to build on and we want to lean towards. And so there's a lot of different grant opportunities specifically for people who are wanting to partner alongside that. And so OGVP, which is the Gun Violence Prevention, is offering a funding opportunity through grants specifically to support community-based activities that will make neighborhoods safer. And then for
Sophia,
these grants, yes.
We're running out of time.
Oh.
I'm sorry. Gotta hurry up because I still gotta get
These
questions
grants
in.
are $5,000 to $15,000. And then lastly, we have Mayor Bowser is hosting of the 35th annual 17th Street High Heel Race. And so that's going to be tomorrow, October 25th at 7 p.m. And so an amazing opportunity to come out on the DuPont Circle, 17th Street Northwest, specifically at 7 p.m. The race will begin at 8 p.m. And so a time to come out, wear the high heels and race.
All right. Thank you. Does anybody have any questions for
Absolutely.
Sophia? Commissioner Palmer.
Thank you, Chair Brooks. I wanted to follow up on a question I asked last month about the super cans and whether those are back in stock, and also to note that I'm continuing to receive some complaints about missed pickups, and it's not so much that like people are putting in their 311 requests to get stuff picked up later, but it seems to be that there's, I don't know, some consistently missed routes, and just wanting to put some attention on that. People are more than happy to put in the 311 requests, but if it's a larger issue and whatever's underlying that, if we can get some work on that.
Absolutely. And then for Oh, sorry. For the missed pickups, is that recycling or trash or both?
It's both, but what I've most heard of recently is recycling. But it is both. And then I did hear from some residents. There's, as you know, there's a lot of utility work and other work. And some residents just want to know if there's ever coordination, because there, it seems like there's constant utilities stuff that's keeping them from having access to their streets, but then it just keeps going because there's something else. So just a larger push for coordination among the agencies in their work and the utilities. Thank you.
Absolutely. And then with the utility work, currently, we had a concern over in Shepherd Park area where there was an agency that wasn't necessarily putting the notice at an appropriate time. Has your SMD had that same issue as well?
Some people have mentioned that the signs for work go up very last minute, and I can't speak to the veracity of that, but that is something I've heard.
Okay. Thank you. And then I will check in again about the super cans and specifically about the missed pickups, because I've also been hearing about the recycling and wanting to make sure that we're getting a handle on that as well.
Wonderful. Thank you. Commissioner Cohen.
Hey, Sophia. I just wanted to raise an issue that's been brought up before. This is the illegal auto repair work on 6500 block of Sandy Spring. I sent another email today, which you were on, but this issue continues to sort of fester, and it's an issue in that, like, it's a DLCP issue during the day and an MPD issue during the evening. But I continue to hear neighbors reach out to me, complain about it. I'm going to let them know that I, sent an email and brought it up at the meeting tonight, but I just wanted to put it on your radar.
Yeah, so both Inez with the LCP and Commander Lavenhouse and I all went over there to sort of show them the exact area that it's happening and bring a light to that. And so I'm currently waiting for a follow-up on that, and I will make sure that you are added to that.
All right, thank you. I believe Jocelyn has a question.
Okay. Am I good?
Yep. Go ahead.
I just have a question. Maybe it's like the 800-pound elephant in the room for you, Ms. Sophia. I heard a little bit on the news coming home this evening about the loitering issue being addressed in the mayor's crime package. And it was like they have been loitering for years and years and years. Anytime you said something to the police, they said, there's no loitering laws. There are no loitering laws, something like that. So that has never been something they could address. I've even heard people bring that up in sector meetings. What was the thing that made the light bulb go off now? Because they've been hanging out on corners for years. I mean, I'm amazed at the things that the mayor comes to the realities of things that have been going on, and suddenly it's just like, oh yeah, let's deal with loitering. What happened?
Yes.
Just want to know what happened. What was it?
Yeah, so I think it's something where, similar to when we're talking about Act Now, we have council members that we want to make sure that we need to get all of their votes, or at least 7 up their votes when passing different laws like that. And specifically with loitering, you are right, it is nothing new, and it is not a new conversation the mayor has had.
Well, I'm glad. Better late than never, never, never. Thank you.
Yeah, so definitely talk to your neighbors about Act Now. And then Commissioner Yates.
On the 9th. Okay, thank you. Amazing.
Sorry, my dog was picking that moment to speak up. I had a couple quick questions. One is that I'd hoped to raise it last month with MPD, but they didn't come, and it doesn't look like they're not here again. I'm looking to follow up on the case of a constituent of mine who was assaulted at 4th and Aspen Street Northwest. Has been concerned that MPD hasn't been seriously pursuing his case. He found his phone through his Find My iPhone feature. MPD didn't respond seriously to it and didn't appear to be taking his case seriously. So he's wondering what constituents should do when they're concerned that the police aren't taking a violent crime seriously. And then the second question I had was about the bill introduction. I've read a lot of descriptions about legalizing police incidental contact to the neck as opposed to chokeholds. What's the difference between a chokehold and incidental contact to the neck? Like, what's the mayor hoping to let people do?
Yes, I can. They put a description with videos. I'm not going to demonstrate it, but I can definitely put it in the chat of the links to breaking it down as well as a video of what that looks like. So once we're finished talking here, I will go over to MPD's website and pull it up and drop it in the chat. And then also specifically with the neighbor who was assaulted on Aspen and believing that it's not being taken seriously, which is a very big problem, should never happen. I think first is wanting everybody to have officer listings and officers' handbooks information. And so you're always welcome to bring them into the conversation and also bring me. And so similarly, whenever I'm working on these different cases, I always bring them up to higher powers that might be to make sure that they are getting handled as well. And so I think that could be definitely something we could do. And also bringing in other officers if you would like to take a look.
Okay, great. Let's, there's a question in the chat, which addresses leaf collection. So I'm going to wait on that because they're going to present. And so that doesn't, I think, have to be directed at you.
Oh, perfect.
But it's more so just a statement. It says leaf collection program needs some improvements. The pickup dates and times are not adhered to. Last year I collected leaves on the curb and it was never picked up. This occurred twice, unfortunately. And I think there have been changes to the program, and I think that's why they're here tonight. And so we'll let them speak to the leaf program shortly. Commissioner Palmer.
Yes, I just wanted to respond to my resident constituent, Jocelyn Johnson, that part of the reason why there have been statements about loitering laws is that they have been found by and large to be unconstitutional due to being vague and overly broad. And I trust that whatever the mayor is proposing has considered the constitutionality, but that is why it has been a hurdle to presenting something like that in the past, because they are largely unconstitutional.
Okay. All right, thank you, everyone. I think we can move on to Barbara Rogers, the Office of Ward 4 Councilmember Janice Lewis George.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. Commissioner Yates, you'll take down and I'll take up.
I'm trying to. It's not
Okay.
not going quickly. But
yeah, I'm having troubles today as well with the functionality with the software. Hi, Barbara.
Hello.
You've got 30 seconds. Go.
Oh, I just text you.
Saw that. That's why I said that.
I know. Hello, 4B commissioners and community. I'm sorry I missed your last meeting, but I am glad to be back. So we do have just a few updates. We want to talk about the SNAP food assistance to increase for DC residents. Through a budget amendment passed by Councilmember Lewis George, DC residents will be getting a $40 million increase in SNAP starting in January. That equals out to be about a 10% local enhancement to their benefits to help cover the cost of groceries. And to, of course, reduce food insecurity in our city. Public safety bill that was just mentioned. This week, Councilmember Lewis George attended a press conference with the mayor and DC public safety leaders where they introduced a bill that aims to address retail crime. The council member did speak today about the need to be unified and to work together in this moment when crime and violence in our city is unacceptably high. She will be reviewing this legislation closely once it comes before the council. As a former assistant attorney general in DC, the council member believes that what works to address crime is closing cases and holding individuals swiftly accountable, while also working with our communities to do preventive work, make intervention in the lives of people who are most at risk, and to ensure people's essential needs are being met. Also, the council member has co-introduced important legislation to address failures in our public safety ecosystem, including making our 911 call center reliable again and recertifying DC's crime lab so it can collect the evidence we need to close investigation and file charges. We will keep you updated on these bills when they come before the council. Also mentioned tonight was DC Plug. The council member in our team has shared residents' frustration with how construction is being managed by DC Plug project. They are actually working on council members' block, this project. So including the lack of communication about upcoming work, construction adjacent to schools during school hours, and unnecessarily disruptive construction. The council member did write a letter to the agencies to address these issues and will continue to work with them to bring improvement. She is also considering legislation on this. The council member also encourages ANCs to reach out to DDOT and PEPCO directly with these issues. Leaf collection has been mentioned, so I won't mention that again. Curbside composting. If you signed up, I was not one of the lucky ones, but if you have signed up for DC composting, you should have already received your container, and I think the first collection has already happened. 24-hour bus service starts December 17th. Buses in Ward 4 will be the 52, S2, the 70, and the 80. Emory Heights Community Center elevator. We have heard from several neighbors about the broken elevators, and we are pressing DGS to resolve it. The estimated completion date is October the 30th. Sign up for our newsletter if you don't already get our newsletter at www.ward4news.com. That's what I have. Thank you all for having me.
Thank you. Are there any questions? Commissioner Gilligan?
Oh, one more thing. Can I just say one more thing? After
Yeah.
hearing from seniors with requests, we also now offer an option to receive our newsletter by text. You know, some seniors don't have computers, but they do have smartphones. So all you need to do is text to 202-286-5268, and you'll be added to the text list. Thank you.
Commissioner Gilligan?
Yeah, thanks, Ms. Rogers. Not a question, just a comment. I don't disagree with anything you said about the DC plug. I just wanted to add on that I had a complaint about DC plug work from a senior in my community, and really positive, rapid response by the community outreach coordinator, Ann Walters, associated with DC plug. She went and visited within an hour to inspect it herself, and coordinated with me and the resident immediately. So I just wanted to highlight that if there are concerns, really encourage folks to reach out, and we'll get a rapid response as quickly as we can.
Thank you.
Commissioner Yates?
Yeah, I just wanted to follow up with something I had raised with your office, Barbara, and just reemphasize it here. It recently came to my attention that the DGS, when they do school maintenance request, has a 45-day timeline for responding to rat and other rodent infestations, whereas the Department of Health responds to those on private property in 5 business days or less. And I just wanted to raise, since she has oversight of DGS, if there's any way that she could get the administration to like give schools the same intention, or to empower DOH to come onto school properties or playgrounds, anywhere else we see children. It just seems crazy to me that it's like significant 9 times longer to get a rat problem fixed at a school than it is to fix in somebody's backyard. And I know she has oversight of DGS, so I'm pretty sure she can help bring that up for us.
All right, we'll definitely take that back.
I couldn't understand you, Barbara. Could you say that again?
I said I will take that back.
All right, thank you. Don't see any other questions.
Can I make just one more quick statement?
Mm-hmm.
I just wanted to say to Commissioner Cohen, we actually did a sweep today, which is similar, I think, because Mr. Raymond Hainsworth with DPW actually mentioned that site, and he said they were organizing that to do it later in the week. But we did sort of a sweep. Our office coordinated with DPW, DLCP, DOB, and MPD at Emerson, Arkansas, and Georgia Avenue. There's a car lot there, and DPW must have towed, I don't know, 20, 25 cars. So I just wanted to mention that to Commissioner Cohen, because Mr. Hainsworth did mention that they were doing one. So you could probably follow up with Mr. Hainsworth, Raymond Hainsworth.
I think that's a little bit south of my SMD, the area you're mentioning.
No, but I'm talking the one that you were talking about in the 6500 block. He mentioned that one today.
Okay, gotcha.
We're going to coordinate that one later on this week.
Awesome.
Thanks.
Thank you so much.
Sure.
All right. Wonderful. Okay, with that, before we move to the committee updates, I do see State Board of Education Representative Fraser O'Leary on the call. So I'm going to elevate him and find out if he has an update. 1 second, please. Hello.
Good evening, everyone. I wasn't on the agenda. I felt sad.
I thought.
No, I don't feel sad.
I'm sorry. I don't know what happened. Maybe because you weren't here last month. We felt sad then.
You know, I don't want to miss your meeting. I had a great excuse, whatever it was. I don't know. All right, I have wonderful. I have a lot of information because our meeting is at the last of the month, so I've got the month of October information, but it's not going to take me a long time.
Go ahead.
We met with Delano Hunter, the director of DGS, at our state board meeting on the 4th of October. We had about an hour and a half conversation with Mr. Hunter. He did a wonderful presentation, basically the same presentation that he did in front of the hearing with Chairman or Chairwoman Janice Lewis George the next week. But it was, we've had quite a few positive remarks about what's been happening with DGS in Ward 4 since the beginning of school. We had breakfast with the council 2 weeks ago. The entire state board met with the entire council, minus one person from each. And we spent 2 hours with breakfast and conversation about safety, about education issues, and a lot of different things. And it was a very positive meeting. And the council, the chairman invited us back for breakfast in a couple of months. On our public meeting on the 18th of October, we had a wonderful meeting. A lot of people came to testify about the fact that, if you're not aware, that the teacher's contract for DCPS ran out on the 30th of September. Now you might be saying to yourself, wait a minute, they just got a new contract last year. Well, it was a 1-year contract and it was over on the 30th of September. So all of the teachers in our DC public schools are now working without a contract. And the nexus of the conversations was the fact that the chancellor has not come to talk to WTU to get a new contract. And that's not good information. And that's something that the mayor needs to work on. We are going to be on the 30th of October at the Martin Luther King Library at 5 o'clock. There's going to be a meeting that's sponsored by OSSE, the Office of the State Superintendent of Education, and the State Board of Education about the new DC report card that we are now in the process of working on. And hopefully we'll have something that we can vote for that everyone will be satisfied with as much as possible at the beginning of the next year. We're also going to be working on new standards for financial literacy. That will finally have courses in financial literacy, something that every student in DC schools, both charter and public schools, needs to learn about before they graduate from high school. I'd be willing to bet that hardly anyone on this call had a course in financial literacy when they were in high school. And most of us learned our financial literacy by messing up checks and getting credit cards when we shouldn't have gotten them and other things like that. Last Thursday, we met at the Petworth Library with the 4th rendition of the Toni Morrison Book Club. We talked about jazz next. At the end of November, we're going to be meeting at Petworth Library and talking about Toni Morrison's novel, Tar Baby. That'll be the 5th book we're working on. I'm sort of coordinating the meeting. I'm not teaching the book. We're just talking about it, and its conversations are unbelievable. Last week, I was fortunate enough to go to the grand opening of the new addition to Friendship Ideal on right there across the street from the post office in Lamont. And they have a beautiful new addition with a brand new gymnasium and classrooms. It's fabulous. The boundary meeting is tomorrow night for the members on the Ward 4 from Ward 4 that are going to be talking with the DME about the new boundaries. There's supposed to be a report that comes out this week about a preliminary report about what they are talking about. We're still waiting to hear from them. And we will be meeting with the DME. We meet with the DME every other month. We meet with the council chairman every other month. We meet with the state superintendent every month, and hopefully we'll be meeting with the chancellor every month. We met with him last month. And don't forget about books. We have been delivering books since the beginning of school with Mrs. O'Leary's Books for Friends. And we've delivered over 3,000 books since the beginning of school, but I don't have any books to deliver, so I need books. Please talk to your friends who have young children, pre-K through 8th grade, and they've finished reading the books and they don't have any siblings under them. And if they want to just get the books, we'll pick them up or they can deliver them. And I'll put my address in the chat and my phone number and my email address. If you can get in touch with me, we just want to get books to the children in Ward 4. That's it.
All right, thank you. Okay, so
really sad with no questions.
Are there any questions? No? All right, before we go to committee items, Commissioner Johnson had a concern that I want to address, which is I wasn't looking closely at the chat, so her items didn't get shared instantaneously. So I have now posted them, and I believe every commissioner can share with everyone. And so if as a commissioner you have something to post, feel free to do that. Okay, because I can't do everything. All right. So we're going to move on.
I don't have the,
So when you go to a drop down, you don't see the option to share with other people like everybody else does? Okay.
no, I do not.
Okay. Then you're going to have to wait patiently because I can only do so many things at one time. All right, let's go to Housing Justice Committee, please. And I'll be posting everyone's comments.
Yes, thank you, Chair Brooks. The Housing Justice Committee last met on Wednesday, October 4th. We had a very good and educational discussion that included a presentation about low-income housing tax credit financing, a discussion with and presentation from Pathways to Housing DC, which works on ending chronic homelessness. And then a discussion around citywide advocacy and collaboration related to social housing, which is something that the commission and committee have weighed in on before. Our next meeting will be Wednesday, November 1st. We meet the first Wednesday of the month at 7 p.m. We meet virtually. All of the login information is available on the commission website at anc4b.com. Our November meeting will be focused on housing supports and services for returning citizens. And in December, I think we're going to plan a social activity for committee members in the community. So please stay tuned for that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Vision Zero Committee. Commissioner Yates, can you give that update, please?
Sure. Thank you, Chair Brooks. The Vision Zero Committee met October 18th at 6 p.m. We heard discussion of the proposed protected bike lanes on Kansas Avenue Northwest near Blair Road, proposed flex post median at 6th Street Northwest, Butternut Streets Northwest. And we heard information from the committee director of the Council Committee on Transportation and the Environment on a suite of proposed Vision Zero traffic enforcement bills before the council. It was a good and informative discussion, and I think it informed a couple of the resolutions that we see before the commission tonight. Our next meeting is scheduled for Wednesday, November 15th at 6 p.m. and I hope you can join us there.
Thank you. Okay, Youth Advisory Committee update. So last month, Commissioner Palmer and I put forth a resolution. We have put out a call for applicants and the deadline is October 31st. So we will be presenting student candidates, I guess, at our next planning meeting. I am super excited about the idea of our youth committee and look forward to everybody's role. I think it's an opportunity for us to teach young people about government and how to engage with government, but also give them an opportunity to be heard. So I think that's Commissioner Palmer, anything we should add? That was off the cuff.
No, just that I wholeheartedly agree. And in speaking with someone at a cleanup this weekend who is potentially interested and was asking about the purpose of the committee, then it sparked a discussion about rec center facilities. And I told him that's exactly what we want to hear from you.
Oh, great. So, okay. So with that, we'll move into our presentations. Our first presentation will be from DPW, Back to Basics Leaf Season and Fall Initiatives. And we'll be hearing from Randy Thorpe and from Marlon Wright. So let me update both of them, or promote both of them, excuse me. Marlon Wright, you're being promoted. And Randy Thorpe, you're being promoted. Let me know. We've been having problems, so let me know if you're there.
I'm here. Can you hear me?
We can. Thank you.
Okay, great. Oh, you can't see me though.
No, you should be able to turn your camera on though.
Yeah, I thought it was on. Oh no. Oh wait, let me see.
I'm here as well.
Hey, here I am.
All right. Welcome.
Thank
Is
you.
Marlon,
Thank
did
you.
Marlon Wright?
I'm here.
Okay, and your camera's off. Is that intentional? That's okay, but I just wanted to know if you.
It is. I'm driving.
Okay, that's fine. Be careful. All right, the floor is yours.
Okay, so Sophia spoke of our leaf season initiatives a little earlier. But I just wanted to let you all know that this year we will not be posting a full schedule. But we will be alerting residents 1 week in advance when to rake out. Every Friday, we'll be doing messaging to ANC's council staff and MOKers about when to tell residents to rake out. And it will be the Sunday before their collection. And they are to rake out to their tree box, or if they don't have a tree box, to the curb of their home. And we will be starting the first section that will be starting on Monday, October 30th, will be section A in all 8 wards.
I have a question about that.
Sure.
Just as a homeowner, I typically do yard work on Saturdays and Sundays. So if you're notifying residents the Sunday before, they don't really have an opportunity to rake. I mean, I would assume that most people who work need the weekends to do that kind of work, that kind of yard work. So
Randy,
if you're notifying us the week before on a Sunday, residents really wouldn't have a lot of time to then rake their leaves out to the curb.
Okay, Randy, I can address that. The intent is to give a 10-day notice. The Sunday before is when we're asking you to start raking out. The notification will come 10 days prior to your day. The Sunday is the rake out day.
Okay, I'm sorry, maybe I misunderstood. All right, thank you.
No problem.
Yeah, so for instance, the Friday just passed, we sent out a message for residents in section A of each ward that their collection will begin on next Monday, October the 30th.
Understand. All right, thank you. I also found that the sewers ended up getting clogged, at least in my SMD, when all of the things were raked out to the curb, and then we had to get WASA to come out and clear the sewer because then the street flooded. Is there any way that when you're collecting these leaves, you can look at the sewer to get those leaves also? Or am I going to have to just continue to call WASA afterwards? I don't know if that's appropriate.
That's a good point. I would note that, and I will bring that up to our supervisors, and I'll make sure I inform them to start paying attention and looking out for it.
Okay. All right. Should we just keep going with questions, Ms. Thorpe?
Sure.
Okay. Commissioner Gilligan?
Hey, yeah. Just in my district, there's a boundary on some of the zones, the leaf pickup zones that runs through streets. So like we've seen in the past is one side of the street will get, you know, raked out and vacuumed up. And the others, so they see leaves, you know, getting raked out, and so they'll actually go and try to get in it, but they'll wave you off and be like, no, this is not your zone, it's this side of the street. But it's been 2 years in a row now, and folks have seen that some kind of miscommunication in the next round doesn't actually hit that side of the street, even though they're in the next zone. You know what I mean? So I just want to emphasize where those boundaries are, just to make sure the crews are aware, you know, to always hit the edges there, because I've seen issues in that.
Thank you. I'm noting that right now.
We've had something similar happen here also, where the intersection of North Capitol and Kennedy never gets raked. That one block on North Capitol never gets raked.
Randy, can you take that address for me? And I will note, boundaries are definitely challenging to do, just because, like you said, if we do both sides, it sends a mixed message. If we do one side, it sends a mixed message. And some crews will take it upon ourselves to do both sides. And we try to do a good job of sticking with what the schedule says. And I will make sure I reiterate that with the supervisors this year. But boundaries are very challenging, and we do recognize that. We will try to improve on that this year.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
And can I get
Commissioner
that
Cohen?
address again for Kennedy Street real quick?
That would be the 57 and 5800 blocks of North
57.
Capitol. It's the intersection of North Capitol and Kennedy.
Okay, got it.
Commissioner Cohen?
Yeah, I just wanted to reiterate the boundary issue. I got a note from a neighbor who lives at the 6700 block of Eastern Avenue and says that they always get missed. And so, sorry, 6600 block. I think Eastern Avenue, given that it's right next to the Maryland side, may get missed sometimes. And so, if we could just put a little exclamation point on that on Eastern Avenue.
6600 block, correct?
Yeah, 6600, 6700. I mean, that'd be great. Yep.
All right. I will make sure I flag that for me, so I will make sure I drive that area this year.
6500. Sorry,
Okay.
6500.
All right. Got it. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, any other questions? Okay. That's it. Thank you for coming.
Hey, Commissioner Brooks.
Yes.
I do apologize. I do want to address the recycling collection issues and some of the things that we're trying to do to mitigate these problems. We have been receiving service requests increased in our office, and my office specifically, about missed recycling and leakage recycling. What we've done, we've instilled a Rubicon platform within our agency that allows us to kind of track the work activity of the trucks. And we are developing route auditing systems for our supervisors that we're doing training on. So we are aware of those issues, and we're doing our best to make sure we're mitigating those. And then we're adding staff to our collections area too. And I would definitely appreciate either emails or phone calls of the issues you're having so we can get right on them as soon as possible.
Will do. Commissioner Yates?
I just wanted to ask, Chair, would you like to go to the Q&A?
Sure.
Kevin Collins wants to know about leaf collection. How will notification be provided? If we have a backyard and can't rake to the front, can we put bags of leaves in the front?
So we prefer the leaves to be raked and placed to the front. If the bags are in the front, we will collect them. But it's not the preferred method of collection.
Jocelyn Johnson wants to know, what is Section A in Ward 4? Where is Section A?
But I don't have the boundaries, Randy. Would you be able to send the boundaries out after this meeting? I don't have them with me specifically. Randy, could you send those boundaries out?
Yeah.
Thank you.
That's all of that's in the Q&A, Chair Brooks.
Thank you. All right, we'll move on then to the next presentation. And I will say that the next several presentations all relate to the fact that this is Breast Cancer Awareness Domestic Violence Month. And so we brought some presentations that we hope are enlightening for everyone. And so our first presentation is Brandon Kemper-Seeley, Training and Education Manager for DC Survivors and Advocates and Empowerment. Acronym is SAFE. So give me 1 second and I'm going to pull him up.
Chair Brooks, we're bringing on Nicole Walter.
Okay. Yes, you did tell me that. So I'm sorry about that.
That's all right.
I even wrote it down.
Hi everyone, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay. Is this going to let me share my screen? I do have a presentation to go along with it, but if that's not going to work, that's okay.
You should be able to share your screen.
Okay, give me 1 second to try to set that up. Okay. And can you all see that okay?
Yes.
Okay. So my name's Nicole. I'm filling in for my colleague Brandon. I'm the director of our supportive advocacy team. So I work at the domestic violence intake centers that are hosted by the DC Superior Court. Brandon is our training and education manager, so he usually does more of our outreach work. But I am happy to be here today to educate you all about what DC Safe is and what we do, and how to get in touch with us if anyone is ever looking for support in a domestic violence situation. So just generally, domestic violence is really broad. It can be a scope of a lot of relationships, family relationships, people that live together, intimate partner violence. We at DC Safe, unfortunately, there's a lot of domestic violence around it going in the world. So we focus on intimate partner violence only. So that would be people who have any kind of intimate relationship, dating, sexual, romantic, if they have children in common, married, anything like that. We do have a crisis response line that I'll talk about later that is 24/7. So we get a lot of calls. If someone calls and they're kind of outside of our scope, we're going to do our best to assist in whatever way we can. But we do focus our efforts largely on intimate partner violence. Oops, that's what this slide says. So I'll just skip over that. There's a lot of different types of abuse. Some of it's obviously more visual. Some of it is happening that you may not know about. So we're talking about emotional abuse, verbal abuse, physical, which may have more visual signs of it, sexual abuse, financial abuse, social media, any abuse happening online. That's obviously becoming a lot more popular in the last several years, and pretty popular among younger generations that use a lot of social media as their main form of communication, and stalking, which can also be cyber stalking as well. These all look really different case by case per person on what this may show up as. We do also assist with stalking issues or relationships. So that may not always be someone that they have an intimate relationship, but they are experiencing stalking from somebody. And we can assist with some resources related to that, as well as sexual abuse, whether they have a relationship with the other person or not, is another area that we will assist with. So to talk a bit more about DC Safe specifically and what services we are providing, we want to ensure that each domestic violence survivor has an opportunity for safety and self-determination through a few of our different programs. So that would be emergency services, which is our crisis response team, core advocacy, which is the team that I lead, the supportive advocacy team, and our system reform, which is our more oversight strategic team. I'll take a minute to talk a little bit about each of these. So the crisis response team is more of our 24/7 group. We have the crisis response line that I mentioned before that is running 24/7. It is staffed 24/7. We also have a shelter that is in the 5th district now, and that is also running 24/7. There's staff on site with anyone that's staying at the shelter space with us. The supportive advocacy team is, like I said, focused out of the domestic violence intake centers. There's 2 of them. There's one at the Superior Courthouse downtown on Indiana Avenue, and there's another one in Southeast right by the Big Chair in Anacostia. Both locations are staffed with the different partners of the intake center, which includes DC Safe, the DC Superior Court, MPD, different legal offices, crime victims compensation as well. And then our strategic team does more of our outward facing system reform, community hearings, oversight hearings, budgeting, all of that. So the goal of DC Safe is very specific. We're really looking at the immediate short-term crisis response that someone is looking for. So we're typically having a conversation with the survivor within 24 to 48 hours after an incident has happened. We do have a strong partnership with the police department, so they send a lot of referrals to our crisis response line. If they respond to a domestic violence call, then they should be calling us to tell us about it and give us the information so we can reach out to that person and see if they're interested in any services, if they just have any questions, any concerns that we can address. We're focused on harm reduction, reducing negative consequences of certain survival and coping mechanisms, and creating a larger pool of options for survivors to choose from. And that's where we're really talking about our self-determination model, or this empowerment model. We are here to provide information, provide options, talk people through what they're experiencing. Everybody wants to take a different approach to their relationship or what's going on. So we're here to talk that through with the survivor and help them come to the conclusion that works best for them. And that looks different for everybody. So we're really focused on what the survivor wants to do, how they would like to proceed, and partnering with them to make those next steps. We're here to provide the information, and they are here to tell us what works best for their lifestyle, the options they have, what they want to do. Some frequently asked questions that will come up. All of our services are confidential. We take our confidentiality policy very seriously. We will only be sharing information after someone has provided us a release to do so. So if they're working with other community agencies, any government organizations that they want us to be in contact with, we are happy to do that. We're happy to collaborate, but we will only do that at their request. All of our services are free of charge. The domestic violence intake centers are walk-in, so they have pretty typical business hours, 8 a.m. to 4:30. So at any time within that, someone can walk in and ask to speak to an advocate. We serve all survivors regardless of sexual orientation or gender. Immigration status is not a barrier to services, as well as languages. We have translation services if we don't have someone that is bilingual in that language. You don't need any identification to receive services. And I will also note here at the court, if you are trying to file a protection order, you also do not need any identification to file a protection order. So if someone's trying to service both areas, they can do so without any identification. And like I mentioned, it's a walk-in center, so no appointment is required to call the response line. You don't have to have any kind of timing set up. You can call us literally anytime you want to, and there will be someone to talk to try to answer your question. The only difference would be the shelter is based off referral systems, so that would require some kind of conversation first, whether it be through the crisis response line or through the domestic violence intake center and speaking with an advocate there. And then some version of an appointment will happen to meet the shelter staff. These are the different programs that I had talked a bit about: the supportive advocacy team, the crisis response team, our shelter team, and then there's also the lethality assessment program. I kind of went into some of these. The crisis response team makes up that, like I said, 24-hour. Some other things that we do within that 24-hour area is emergency shelter placements. This is where DC Safe, like I mentioned, is really focused on emergency crisis services. So if we get a call in the middle of the night and someone is not safe where they are, that crisis response line team is really taking action to figure out what that next step needs to be. That may look like overnight shelter, an emergency lock change. It might be helping the person brainstorm other areas they can go to if they're not interested in either of those options. Transportation assistance to get somewhere else if they identified their own space that is safe, that's not where they currently are. Food assistance, and we also work closely with the DC Forensic Nurse Examiners and Washington Hospital Center for people who are seeking medical exams. The crisis response line also has a Spanish specific line. So anyone that is Spanish speaking can call the Acción line instead and hear all the intro messages immediately directly in Spanish. And they'll still be connected to an advocate in the same exact way.
All right.
The lethality assessments I mentioned are ways to assess different risk factors that may be present in the relationship. So it's a set of questions that we'll go through with people who are willing to participate in it, just to get a better idea of what's going on, and then we can identify these risk factors with them. The large ones that we're talking about here is access to any weapons or guns, if anyone's been choked before, any medical treatment, and any escalation in behavior are those big things we're looking at. I talked a bit about the court programming and the supportive advocacy team that involves drafting protection orders if someone's interested, as well as court support. If they're going through the protection order process, our advocates can guide them through that process, kind of get through that, that government area that can be really confusing at times and a little bit intimidating, as well as connecting people to different legal services. Protection orders can be filed through the DC Superior Court. They can do a lot of different things depending on what someone's looking for, but it's really up to the petitioner on what they want to seek. Generally to stay away, not contact somebody. We can ask for someone to be vacated from a property. Child custody, like temporary custody of any children in common, that might be quicker than going through the family court if there's an emergency situation going on. Reimbursement for any property damage or expenses incurred because of the crimes or the abuse that has happened to somebody. You can request counseling classes for the abuser, and that would be mandated by the court. And if a protection order is granted, it automatically comes with a requirement to relinquish any firearms. Filing a protection order is specific to intrafamily offenses. So this is what the judge is looking for when a petitioner fills out a petition for a protection order. The type of relationship is what matters for a civil protection order, and that can be the broader scope of domestic violence, not just the intimate partners. So that's where family members, roommates, all of that comes into play. And it has to meet the offense statute for the crimes committed against the survivor of domestic violence. These are the two intake centers that I mentioned before, the two different locations. Something that is important to know if you are suggesting someone come speak to an advocate is that this can be a long process. There's a lot of information to cover. If someone really wants to sit down and talk about what's going on and get some assistance and go through different options, that can take a while. It is kind of like an emergency room. You might come in, fill out some paperwork, and then someone has to be available to meet with you. So there is sometimes a little bit of a wait time, but we deal with that as it comes. There is something called an emergency protection order, and that's where it says ETPO. Those are obtained after hours through the police department, and an on-call judge is contacted. That is an option that comes up if someone is ever curious about more of what that process looks like, or if they're a good fit for it, they can always contact our response line, and we can kind of go through that process with them or see if there's other safety planning we can do in that moment and get them to the court the next day. A bit more about our shelter space. As I mentioned, we did just open a new shelter space. It can fit up to 30 families at one time, which is really exciting. It's a lot more space than what we previously had. It's all apartment style, so it is private for families. We can accommodate larger families as well, which is an area that's been really lacking in some of the DC housing options, but it is still immediate and short term. So we're typically looking at about 20 nights of immediate crisis shelter. And in that time, our shelter staff is working with those clients to see them to their next step. And depending on what their housing situation was when they came in to see us, looks different for everybody, but we're really working in that time to identify somewhere that they can go afterwards that is safe. Advocates are on site 7 days a week. It is now also 24/7 as well. And we have a lot of different partnerships that work with us there, including the DC Forensic Nurse Examiners, as well as counseling is a huge part of services that we're trying to promote for our clients and make sure they have the option to do. So we are currently working with the Women's Center and the Wentz Center. To make a referral to DC Safe is pretty simple. You can just call the crisis response line. The number is listed here. Some detail about who you are as the person making the referral is always helpful to know how people are getting in touch with us. We do ask for the names and the date of birth for both parties involved in the matter, or as much information as somebody has. How they know each other, because that will determine whether this is a good fit for us, or there might be another agency that's better equipped to assist. A little bit about what's going on and what's happening in this relationship. If there is a history of domestic violence, maybe this is the first incident, but it's helpful to know any of that. We are happy to do any kind of three-way call. Again, we leave it all up to the client. It's their decision on who they want to participate in this conversation. So if they want the person making the referral to be part of that conversation, either as just a support or an emotional guide, then that's fine with us. Or we're always happy to collect the information and then reach out to the client separately and talk to them about our services and why we're calling and what we do. There are a few things to note when it comes to servicing people from DC Safe. We want to be able to take this person in as a whole person. They have other things going on in their life outside of the domestic violence issue that they're calling us for. So these are all things that are really helpful for us to know going into a conversation, and we love to be honest about them because it will make a difference in how we can proceed if there's certain ways that we need to address other areas of their life, or if we're talking about like any medical needs and someone has medication that they need to figure out because it's locked in the home with their abuser and they don't have access to their medication and it's part of their daily routine. Those are all big things that we need to know so that we can help them move forward in a way that works best for their life. And areas that can come up are mental health needs, substance abuse, history of housing instability, damage to any current properties, missing medication, anything like that. Again, the crisis response line is posted here. We also have a website where you can learn more about our services, keep up to date on what we're doing out in the community, learn more about the shelter that we just built and reopened. Brandon's contact information is here. He's a great resource. He can always share any other questions to me if they're about our more direct services. But he is also happy to organize any other community presentations or any community events as well.
All right.
And this is just a list of a bunch of resources in the community.
Thank you. Would you mind sharing your presentation? Can you email it to us?
Yes, if Brandon hasn't, I'll ask him and then I can share it.
All right, thank you very much. Does anyone have any questions? Commissioner Palmer?
Yes, thank you, Chair Brooks. Nicole, I just want to say thank you. Having personally used your services and knowing people who have used them, I know that they are invaluable. And people often feel like they're on an island, so to have that support is very essential. And I'm happy to have the presentation and share it with others. The question I have that I heard via resident is whether you work at all with animal groups like the Humane Rescue Alliance, if someone has a pet and needs to have them temporarily homed while they're in a shelter or something else.
Yeah, that's a good question. And I'm glad that somebody asked because that comes up very often. For anyone that is a big pet lover, it's obviously very hard to leave your animal if where you're going may not have space for them. So we do work with the Humane Rescue Alliance is usually the first one that we'll call to try to set up something with the survivor and their pet to be held or rehoused while they're going through a shelter experience or in stable housing.
Thank you.
Commissioner Gilligan?
I also want to echo the thanks for the important work that you do, you and your organization. I love the ability for any language to be received, particularly Spanish 24/7. I just a couple questions. One, both for just edification. The first is the degree of training that the MPD officers receive to know, they're front line sometimes and they'll be able to inform folks of this. And then the second question, you said that E2PO is 7th district only after hours. I was curious the reason why it's only 7th district, especially after hours. It's tough for folks to get across the city in those circumstances. And so I'm just curious about that. Thank you.
Yeah. So the first part of your question about training for MPD officers. So this year, actually, there was a very large focus on training MPD officers. So Brandon actually does a lot of the trainings alongside our crisis director, Kylie. I think they're going, I don't say 2 or 3 times a week to do different sessions with new officers, returning officers, and going through, the 101 of domestic violence. They do a lot of role playing as well, so that they can act out different scenarios and different trauma responses that may came up from a survivor who just called the police and is in the middle of their crisis. I don't know the number off the top of my head, but I can say we are in the thousands of the amount of officers we have trained this year, which is really impressive. They're putting a lot of work into that to make sure that officers feel educated and prepared to handle any crisis or traumatic domestic violence experiences. And then the second part of your question, I'm sorry, can you remind me what it was?
Sure, I was just asking about the thinking behind
the
7th
EQPOs.
district only. Yeah.
So that's something that's also set up with the court. 7th district, their jurisdiction has really the highest amount of call volume for domestic violence calls. So just based on geographical area where the most calls were coming in, I would assume is where they made that decision. But also just to keep it all in one space, make it a little bit easier to get in contact with, this person at this space, and they can contact the judge. Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you very much for the presentation.
Of course, I tried not to go too fast, but I didn't want to take up too much time. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to Brandon, and we will share that presentation.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. All right. Our next presentation is Dash, and I don't see Candace Lewis. So Candace, if you are here, if you could use the raise your hand function so that I know to elevate you to. Otherwise, we'll move on to the next presentation, which is Tesha Coleman, Bureau Chief, Cancer and Chronic Disease Prevention Bureau, Community Health Administration, DC Government Cancer Control Programs. I'm going to elevate you now. And while she's giving this presentation, if someone's here from Dash, if you just reach out to me, we'll have you come up next. Tasha, are you there? Hello.
Hello, good evening. There was a long pause. I'm not
Yeah,
sure.
Zoom is not friendly tonight. I don't know what's going on. It's making
Yes, good
challenges.
evening.
Okay.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen to pull up my slides.
Of course.
I am Tisha Coleman, Bureau Chief for the Cancer and Chronic Disease Prevention Bureau at DC Health. And I'm not sure if I'm sharing in presentation mode or not yet. There we go. Can you see my screen?
We can.
Excellent. So just to get us all on the same page, with DC Health, we of course really strive to be the healthiest city in America, promoting health, wellness, and equity across the district, including protecting the safety of our residents, visitors, and all those who do business in the nation's capital. So our Cancer and Chronic Disease Prevention Bureau is housed within the Community Health Administration of DC Health. And so within that administration, we also have our Nutrition and Physical Fitness Bureau, our Family Health Bureau, and the Healthcare Access Bureau. And I put these here because I think that if they haven't been to present, they would definitely be willing to share information about what they have going on within their bureaus, including information on, for example, our Nutrition and Physical Fitness Bureau manages our SNAP Ed program. Our Family Health Bureau does home visiting program for mothers and children. And then our Healthcare Access Bureau does things like promoting the availability and access of primary care and dental services across the district. So just wanted to promote them. So the Cancer and Chronic Disease Prevention Bureau specifically really aims to reduce the incidence, morbidity, and mortality of cancer and chronic diseases among all district residents, really focusing on health equity, promoting partnerships and community engagement across the districts. So what are we trying to do? What public health problems are we trying to solve? And across our bureau, we're really looking to reduce the risk factors that cause heart disease, cancer, tobacco, and stroke, for instance, as well as asthma, and violence and injury included. Why do we do this? So this chart, this table is really alarming when we look at it and see that nearly 70% of all district deaths in 2021 were attributable to cancer and chronic diseases, with cancer being the second leading cause of death among all district residents. And so it's really important that we are working to reduce these deaths. That most often the risk factors include things that are things like nutrition, physical fitness, visiting a doctor, getting tested. And so these are things that we want to make sure that our residents have information available to them to help them reduce their risk. So this is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and so I will highlight some of the things going on specifically with breast cancer, but I'm also going to go through activities across our bureau, and I understand that another one of my colleagues will be here next month specifically to talk about all the great things that are happening in the breast and cervical cancer program. So don't want to be redundant, so I'll highlight a lot of the things that are really around cancer and chronic disease prevention. So cancer is the second leading cause of death in the district. Again, breast cancer is the most commonly diagnosed cancer in the district, and breast cancer is also the second leading cause of cancer deaths in the district. And it's important to note that although this data is alarming, it is not the same across all district residents. And so we do see that African Americans, both men and women, are disproportionately affected by cancer, including breast cancer, prostate cancer, lung cancer, and colorectal cancer. So what do we do? Our Project WISH program is our breast and cervical cancer program, and we provide free mammogram screenings as well as cervical cancer screenings across the district. We also provide patient navigation to anyone regardless of insurance status. So we do understand that just having insurance is not an indicator of optimal health. And so there are times where women, for instance, need access or help getting appointments, navigating the systems, understanding what's needed, understanding what the doctors are saying. And so patient navigators are there to help them through the whole entire process. With our colorectal cancer screening program, we work across the district, mostly with health systems, to increase the number of providers who are referring for colorectal cancer screenings. We also want to make sure that folks are aware that colorectal cancer screenings are the ages 45 to 75. And so a few years ago, or last year, it changed to 45. So 45 is the new fit. And so everyone 45 and over should be screened for colorectal cancer. And there are several different ways in which in doing that. There's some home tests as well as procedures that can happen in a doctor's in a healthcare facility. Our chronic disease programs, we have several Living Well programs, and I'll put the link in the chat as well to Living Well DC. This is really where we want to promote all residents, everyone, to use this site we have a journal there that really promotes understanding your health history. There's a way in which you can document all of your doctor's visits, family history, and things like that. So that as you go to your doctor's appointments, you can give that information. It really is promoting everyone to be health literate. So understanding what the doctors are saying, understanding what the health history is. And then there's also some self-management classes that are available on the Living Well website. And those are available for any DC resident and workers who are over the age of 18 with chronic conditions such as diabetes, heart disease, high blood pressure, and dementia can participate in these classes. We also have our diabetes prevention program, which is a year-long program that really helps residents make positive lifestyle choices. And so that's for anyone who's 18 and over who is really at risk or currently has pre-diabetes or been diagnosed with diabetes. You may have seen these commercials recently. This is our brain health initiative. And so it's promoting the use of the brainhealth.dc.gov website that provides the latest available information on improving brain health and preventing dementia for patients and caregivers. The brain health website also has a lot of information for caregivers, as we realize that caregivers also are dealing with a lot of stress and things that can impact their health as well. Our tobacco control program is what I like to say is on the prevention side. So really what we want to do is make sure that folks are not smoking, do not initiate smoking, and if they are smoking, to quit, as tobacco, use of tobacco is a huge risk factor for so many cancer and chronic diseases. And so the tobacco control program houses our DC Quit Now program, and that's available 24/7. It's for youth and adults of ages 13 and over. And it provides one-on-one or group counseling, text messaging support. There's a dashboard to help you monitor your quit journey. And it also provides nicotine replacement therapy. We also have things for youth. So this is quitting that's really tailored for youth ages 13 to 24. It is responsive and confidential. And so when they text that number, they get confidential information right back to them. And it really provides tips and motivation for quitting and building a support system for successful quitters. Really engaging and focusing on our youth. And I wanted to highlight here our recent DC Flavors Blend. So last year, October 1st, and maybe many of you may be aware already, but I think it was really, it's important to note that as of October 1st, 2022, the sale of all flavored tobacco products in the district is prohibited. And so that includes e-cigarettes, cigars, cigarillo, vape, hookah, and then also it prohibits the sale of e-cigarettes within a quarter mile of middle and high schools. And so in partnership with DCLP, when this law went out, DCLP is the one who's enforcing it and doing the surveillance and monitoring of businesses to make sure that they are not selling flavored tobacco products or e-cigarettes within a quarter mile of middle and high schools. I wanted to highlight our data and surveillance. So why do we do these things? How do we know what to do? And then what can folks in the community organizations do? So we we develop state plans, including our framework for improving community health, our DC Cancer Control Plan. And then we have several plans coming out soon, our brain health plan, our DC Cancer Burden Report, and our action plan for healthy living and active living environments. All of these plans have, the plans that are highlighted here, have data to really inform the community of where we are, what's happening in the district, really, iron out or outline what's happening. But then there's also opportunities and strategies listed for what we can do. So what can community-based organizations do? What can residents do to really be involved in reducing the burden of cancer and chronic disease and promoting health among all district residents? So what can you do? What steps should you take today? And just want to re-emphasize taking an active role in your health, make time for staying active, healthy living and eating, and rest. Don't smoke. If you smoke, call DC Quit Now for help. Visit your primary care regularly, and so that's annually, to stay up to date on your cancer screenings, blood pressure checks, get your diabetes checked, your A1C levels checked. Learn more about what you can do to stay healthy and share that information with your family and friends. It's unbelievable the amount of power that we have in promoting health within our family and friends in our community. Join some of our lifestyle change programs, join a coalition, advisory, or advocacy group. The tobacco policy that recently changed only happened because of advocates in the community really promote those types of things. Share educational resources and materials in the community, and then continue to be supportive advocates and promote healthy communities. So that is it. I think I ran through that pretty quickly. So any questions?
Online. Commissioner Gilligan?
Hey, thanks for the presentation. Just on the flavored tobacco piece, because I know that changed, what, a year ago or so?
Yes.
Just how it's working, or is it working, and what are the challenges? And yeah, just curious about that.
It's hard to know just yet if it's working. So we have seen over the past, I would say over the past 5 years, there has been a decrease in tobacco use among all district residents. And it's hard to say if, we don't have that 2023 data just yet to say definitively what that changes after that law passed. I will say that some of the challenges have been with enforcing the law and making sure that, we're responsive in that way. And I'd be happy to have, our folks from the tobacco team come back and speak as well. But, having neighborhood folks, go into stores, and when they see those products in the stores, reporting those to DCLP is very helpful.
Okay, thanks.
All right, thank you. Does anyone else have a question or comment? Okay. Well, Ms. Coleman, thank you very much for coming. I think you provided a lot of great information, and look forward to hearing from others in your group in the future. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, I think I didn't hear from anyone at Dash, so we will move on to the consent calendar. And as you know, the consent calendar items are posted several days in advance of this meeting, giving people opportunities to review the items. There is no discussion on consent calendar items. I'll read those items and then we'll make a motion. Resolution 4B231006, providing feedback on proposal for the intersection of 6th and Butternut Streets Northwest, NOI number 23200-TESD, and reiterating, requests for meaningful traffic calming measures. It's Commissioner Palmer, Yates, and Brooks. Resolution 4B231007, supporting an application for zoning modification to Board of Zoning Adjustment Order number 19897-B for 5501 First Street Northwest, Commissioner Brooks and Palmer. And then there's resolution 4B231008, calling for the District Department of Parks and Recreation to prioritize the installation of the new playground infrastructure at the Lamont Recreation Center, Commissioner Cohen. Is there a motion to accept the consent calendar as presented?
So moved.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
I second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. That's everyone for the record. Thank you very much. Our last resolution for the evening is 4B231009, supporting and providing feedback on a proposed traffic safety enforcement legislation, B25-0421, B25-0422, B25-0425, and B25-0435. Commissioner Palmer, Yates, and Brooks. Commissioner Palmer?
Yes, thank you, Chair Brooks. This is a resolution in response to a suite of proposed legislation from the DC Council to address traffic safety through traffic enforcement, and thereby trying to address dangerous driving, which many of us have seen and experienced, particularly recently. And the resolution largely supports the proposed legislation. It's 4 pieces of legislation, but notes that efforts to impact dangerous driving via traffic enforcement should not supplant or replace efforts to design safer streets through traffic safety infrastructure, which is a priority the Commission has expressed several times. The resolution also offers feedback on several provisions of the proposed legislation, including assessing point penalties for moving violations to scale with speed, thereby assessing more points for higher speeds in excess of the speed limit, including heightened safety requirements for vehicles with higher front ends, which are notoriously more dangerous, and also calling for tracking and reporting of vehicles and revenue through towing and impoundment. Also noting, which the Commission has noted before, that there are chronic issues with booting and towing and impoundment, largely due to lack of sufficient staff and insufficient impound lot space. The impound lot is often full. So there's a larger issue that if we're going to make booting and impoundment easier, there also has to be the staff and space to do so. The resolution also recognizes our past efforts on commercial vehicles on residential roads and calls for consideration of that again. But again, by and large, offering support for these 4 pieces of DC Council legislation. This went through the Vision Zero committee and received some feedback, which was incorporated into the resolution. Thank you.
All right. With that, is there a motion? Commissioner Palmer? Commissioner Yates, you have
Wants to
feedback
move.
to add?
I'll say I was ready to move, but we can let Commissioner Palmer move it.
I don't care.
I'm happy to
move it?
go first, please.
All right. And is there a second?
Right here.
All right. Thank
Wait,
you.
who moved it? Did I move
You
it?
did. Yes, you did.
Okay, I will officially, may I move? I move to approve the resolution.
And I'll second Commissioner Palmer's motion.
All right. Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
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 I think that's everyone. Did I miss anyone? All right. So, with that, we can adjourn another crazy day. Before we adjourn though, let me apologize to Commissioner Johnson. I was feeling a little harried and I shouldn't have responded in that way. So I want to apologize during the meeting, the same way I responded in the first place. So please accept my apologies.
Of course.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right. Everyone else have a great evening. Good night, all.
Good night.